Our next speaker is Regina Cohen from Brazil. She's standing in for Natalia de Melo, who she worked with. Do you have the clicker? No, the remote. So she will be addressing the question of accessibility and inclusive tourism in the historical cities of Brazil, and particularly the case of Ouro Preto in the state of Minas Gerais.
Huh?
In Brazil.
Yeah, Minas Gerais. Minas Gerais.
Minas Gerais. There goes my Portuguese
so
for this afternoon. Regina is a postdoctor in architecture and has worked on the accessibility of persons with disability to museums, which she entertained us of this morning in a very interesting fashion. So, without further ado, Regina, would you please take over?
What I will show now, it was research for a master's dissertation. We have many historical cities in Brazil, mainly in the state of Minas Gerais. He couldn't say the word, but Minas Gerais we were colonized by Portugal, and Minas Gerais was the state of the gold. And when, as a colonialist system, the Portuguese went to Minas Gerais, constructed many things, and took many goats and got to Portugal. This is another story, but I will show how the historical cities were built in this context of the colonization of Portuguese. To begin, this work is mine and not. We wrote together. Natalia was coordinated the dissertation by me and Cristiane, so we wrote together the paper, but she did the presentation, and I tried to improve. So many things I will need to read. Accessibility and inclusive tourism in Ouro Preto, a research for master course, I already told you. And bypasses of accessibility, affection and ownership in a historical town atmosphere. Case study in Ouro Preto is a very, very beautiful city, but is in a mountain. It's very difficult to become accessible. We tried to find solution. We are still trying. It was in the end of last year. And we are trying to improve the city of Ouro Preto. They are all the cities in the state of Minas Gerais, they are very difficult to become accessible. And just to show you how is the city, a panorama of the city, so it becomes really difficult to turn. We are trying to find a solution, and we can't do accessibility everywhere, and maybe we are thinking about a transport to know the city. It's really difficult. Brazil, now in the last census, I didn't talk about this in the two other presentations that I did. 23.9% of persons with disability is a very great number, the last census of 2010. And in Brazil, this represents 50 million persons with disability, with the population now. And if you consider all the persons enrolled with them, you know that the family, friends, and everybody, the number is much bigger. So this way, the growing number of people interested in tourism and sightseeing can be an extra incentive for the development of facility for cultural and social diversity. In 1980, Ouro Preto was declared World Heritage by UNESCO. So it's a city patrimoine of the humanity and completely inaccessible. Recognize that where the old houses and monuments which were part of the illicit permit were under protection. And some cheap pictures of the city. The sidewalks were worst. Oh, this is not. We tried to make the point. No, doesn't work. But these are the city, and the pavement, you can see how they are difficult, and the streets had the sidewalks straight, more straight, and this is a large sidewalk comparing to, look how is the city. Yeah, just to show you, but we are also trying to get together with the federal government because as a patrimony, the city needs to be approved, the project and everything we are trying to do. On the left side, the interesting in Ouro Preto is that it's a very old city of the colonial era, and on the left, you have the Museum of, in confidence, Tiradentes. I don't know if somebody knows. Tiradentes was an important person in the history of Brazil. And on the right side, you have an hotel, modern hotel in a city completely old, the project of Oscar Niemeyer, and the modern with the old together. The city does not have a niche of inclusive tourism yet consolidated because there is not much adjustment. Oh, I not say this because it's very common. The research, yeah, because I tried to cut and I forgot to cut something. The methodology that Natalia used, oriented by us, was the method of commented city walks. It was a method developed by a French researcher with simultaneous activities, walking, perceiving, and describing how people perceive things and how each one has a specific language that will allow to categorize and to organize what is investigated. A way to understand the behavior, perception, and understanding of city dwellers who often neglect the sensitive context of places, closely linked to the physical, social, and cultural spaces. The researchers who developed is Jean-Paul Thibault, a sociologist and urban planner of Grenoble, the University of Grenoble. And he combined this method with ethnography, other methodological tools, interviews and questionnaires, and to have the perception of persons with disability in the city of Ouro Preto. Just to show she needed to make a case study, and she decided to make in the streets that were receiving an intervention by the government. The commented city walks were on this side. The letter 8 is the home of desires, of histories, and the letter B on the top is a hotel. So this was the route analyzed. I don't know, talk about this. I will show the research being done. She walked in the street, look at the narrow sidewalks, person blind. They needed to be with describing everything. He didn't look only persons with disability, also tourists. Walking down the street, she asked them to give also their comments. And a blind man walking. The city is very difficult. You need to find a solution. And more pictures of the city. This was the walking path, walking route with the deaf person, and she tried to make questions related to the disability of the person. This is a tourist. He needed to put something in the eye, not to. This is a picture of the one place of the city. And for Natalia, the final thoughts, we believe that the basis of adaptations of the cities, and in our case, the historic city of Ouro Preto, should start from the designing and creation of rotas acessíveis, what means accessible routes, because this is one of most complete and important accessibility solutions. City walks would be interconnected in a kind of network with suitable and appropriate buildings and passes, within the possible extent with the function of walks entirely conducive to the reception of all subjects. And Natalia took so much from me because he wanted to know how was the historic cities around the world. So in the right side is the Gothic district from Barcelona, Spain, and on the left, Segovia, also in Spain. So she tried, how these cities can be accessible, but Ouro Preto is completely different. But even so, we will try to find a solution. And the spaces must be understood as sites potentially able to respond and meet the needs of its users. And here I finish. I wanted to talk more. I accompanied the work of Natalia, the master dissertation, but it would be better her to be here. So I try to do my best.
Yes.
My question is to Regina. Ouro Preto in Minas. This is Jenny Nair from SAT, Society for Accessible Travel and Hospitality. I would really like to know how you would make Ouro Preto accessible because of the cobblestones. Once the people who drive cars managed to get the cobblestone of one of the streets taken out, but there was such a hue and cry that they had to put back the cobblestones. So would it be one of the ways that you could do is what is being done in Machu Picchu, that you train the people to carry them rather than, and also the steep up and downs that you have? I'm amazed that somebody is even thinking of it.
Can I have? Yeah, can I speak here? Jenny, I really don't know how to make Ouro Preto accessible. But a little time after the master dissertation of Natalia in Ouro Preto, they tried to do 2 streets that I showed and was the case study of her. But I've been called to participate in a patrimonial discussion, accessibility to patrimonial in Salvador. And I don't know if you have seen the solutions for Salvador. I walked in all the historic center of Salvador. And there was a person, all the persons there were from the historic patrimony, Brazilian historic patrimony. And there was a representative of Ouro Preto. We couldn't talk. He gave me a presentation of what they are planning to do in Ouro Preto. But that time I was with other projects, the World Cup and many things. I am with the presentation, and we decided to discuss because I really don't know. Ouro Preto is very difficult to be accessible. And they have many critics for the two streets that were done there. Because, I don't know, to enlarge, they are very straight. It's difficult, but they have a project for Ouro Preto. I will tell you later.
Question in the back?
Yes. We work, my wife and I work with the UN World Tourism Organization and also with Sustainable Travel International on mainly sustainable tourism things. But the work we're doing right now is to try and develop an international database that will actually be accessible for exactly the kinds of information that you were providing today. Because all of us are tired of phoning after searching to try and find out the facts that you know. So the next session, there's a workshop or a presentation on this and on information from several people. And tomorrow morning, we're actually inviting people to come to a workshop to help to develop the templates, because we've got TripAdvisor and Google Earth both interested in being able to geolink them. But we do desperately need support from people who want to share information to get them beyond just interested to actually do something.
Thank you.
You talked about TripAdvisor and Google's, and I travel a lot all around the world. The first thing that I put when I give my opinion of the hotel, the city, the restaurant that I go is about accessibility, not accessible. So TripAdvisor really needs to have something like that, because you don't find this kind of information. And I look very much at TripAdvisor.
Regina wants to add something.
No, it's just about the suggestion about TripAdvisor. We have a declaration here, and this is really something very important. We can suggest to put this in the declaration. I believe it's a good idea.